Hello and welcome to Your Government in Action, a presentation of Bahamas Information Services. I'm Carissa Williamson. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs officially opened Diplomatic Week 2025 at Bahamar Convention Center under the theme Delivering Security, Opportunity, and Justice Through Diplomacy. Diplomatic Week runs from October 19th to the 23rd, 2025, and brings together local and international partnership to strengthen collaboration and further advance the Bahamas' foreign policy goals.
This morning I want to reaffirm something that may seem old-fashioned, but is, in fact, more urgent than ever. It is the belief that diplomacy can still work, that reasoned dialogue can still settle disputes, that patient cooperation can still bring peace. We live in an age when the world feels impatient with the slow work of diplomacy, and confrontation often replaces conversation, and certainty takes the place of understanding. Many have come to believe that nations will only act out of self-interest, and that multilateralism no longer holds meaning. Yet, history reminds us that where diplomacy fails, instability thrives. For the Bahamas, diplomacy has never been an ornament of state. It is the foundation of our national survival. We are a small island nation, but we live within a global system that moves with great speed. The tides that reach our shores carry the effects of global decisions made far beyond these islands. When energy markets fluctuate, it changes the cost of electricity that powers our homes, our schools, and our hotels. When nations fail to meet their climate targets, it is our seaboards that crumble, our livelihoods that disappear, and our people who must rebuild after each storm. The global system is not an abstract or distant concept. It moves through our economy, our weather, and our food supply. It determines the flow of tourists who visit our islands and the price of goods that fill our stores. That is why for the Bahamas, diplomacy is the mechanism through which we negotiate advantage, manage risk, and protect our sovereignty. 50 years ago, we began this work in earnest. The Bahamas established diplomatic relations with the European Union and with Japan. We were young, newly independent, and untested in global affairs. Yet even then, we understood that independence without partnership would be fragile. We sought relationships that were based on respect and reciprocity. We learned early that friendship between nations, like friendship between people, requires consistency, humility, and good faith.
The founding fathers, most of them have passed on, but there are three who survive today. The Right Honorable Philip Bethel, who lives in Israel, the Most Honorable Saul Turnquest, and the Most Honorable Sir Arthur Frost. Our first and founding Prime Minister was the late Sir Lyndon O'Pinley. And he set the tone when he joined the United Nations on our behalf and said the following: the Bahamas, we are friends of all, enemies of none. He committed our country to multilateralism, and that remains our adopted creed today. We are members of CARICOM, the United Nations, the OAS, the Commonwealth, and international allied organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, the IUB, the WHO, UNESCO, IOM, IMO, WIPO, PAHO, and the COP, and others too numerous on this occasion to mention. This, in our view, is the most efficient way to conduct the governance
After 20 weeks of intensive training, 122 recruits officially joined the ranks of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force during a passing out parade ceremony held on October 17, 2025, at the HMBS Coral Harbor base.
I'm proud to be here today to support our nation's sons and daughters. When I look across this parade square, and having had an up-close look, I see the pride in the faces of these recruits. I see the pride of parents, siblings, and grandparents. I see the determination in the eyes of these 120 recruits who have answered the call to serve our country. After 20 weeks of demanding training, filled with early mornings, long nights, and hard lessons, these recruits have earned the right to wear the uniform of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. They have shown discipline, they have shown courage, and they have shown heart. Their journey has not been easy. They have learned to rely on each other, to lead when called upon, and to serve with honor. Today, they stand ready to defend our islands and our way of life. To the members of the new entry 62 and women entry 31, you have made your families proud, your communities proud, and your country proud. Among you are 33 graduates from our National Youth Guard. I was so proud and so moved to learn that you have successfully finished your training, and that some of you are among the top performers in this class. So proud of you. You know, when we started the National Youth Guard program early in our administration, it was in many ways a response to one of our country's most difficult moments. Hurricane Dorian was tragic, and we were forced as a country to consider how we can muster our strengths to survive on the front lines of the climate crisis. Our greatest strength, of course, is our people. Immediately after Dorian's destruction, we saw Bahamians across the country mobilize to help in any way they could. Long before an official response, Bahamians came together to organize medical supplies, food and water, many even using their own boats to rescue those who had been stranded. Thousands opened their homes and their hearts to those who had lost everything. The National Youth Guard trains young Bahamians in important job-ready skills, but national service is much more than support for a career path. The National Youth Guard elevates the best in us, the courage and generosity of our people. We now have hundreds of graduates from the Guard ready to serve alongside our security forces during times of crisis. Minister Mario Bole, who is here with us this morning, who believes fiercely in young Bahamians, worked hard with his team to launch the National Youth Guard. And Minister Wade Monroe adeptly incorporated the Guard into the Ministry of National Security so that their deployment can be coordinated with our security forces as needed. For those former Youth Guard cadets who stand here now, you answered our call, not once, but twice. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for showing that service can change individual lives, even as it changes and strengthens our nation. You know, when I grew up in Cat Island, people helped their neighbors without asking. We looked out for one another because that is what we knew to do as Bahamians, as Christians. As I look at all of you who are graduating today, I see that same spirit. and I know that our most deeply held values are alive and well. When you put on this uniform, you're carrying our best traditions forward. You are serving your country, not just with your hands, but with your heart. To the families gathered here, thank you. You have supported these recruits every step of the way. You prayed for them, encouraged them, and more importantly, you believed in them. This moment belongs to you as well. The pride you feel today is shared by the entire nation.
Minister of Labor and the Public Service, the Honorable Pia Glover-Roll, led the Legislative Reform Town Hall meeting. The session informed residents about the National Tripartite Council's efforts to create a more balanced, modern, and inclusive labor framework, including proposed amendments to the Employment Acts and the Industrial Relations Act.
So legislative recommendations that have been proposed have a range. First of all, they encompass our Employment Act and our Industrial Relations Act. Secondly, they range from definitions and removal of ambiguities to amendment of certain clauses to new clauses being added. We talk about paternity leave, that is new. We talk about maternity leave, that is to be extended. We talk about mental health or mental wellness leave that is new in terms of national legislation. We talk about the introduction of breastfeeding stations, which speaks to the agenda of the Breastfeeding Association and the importance of raising healthy children. And then, of course, there is definitions in terms of what type of employees we have in our organizations, regularizing what is called a casual laborer, that sometimes is a disenfranchised and informal worker, but just making, in terms of the legislation, tightening, ensuring that we remove the ambiguities and ensuring a perfect balance for employees and employers as we move forward in the world of work. This is absolutely a sense of pride to be the minister, the ministerial lead for what is going to be an historic amendment to our labor legislation for the Bahamas. I worked for 2 decades as an HR executive, as an HR director, and I remember feeling sometimes that the law just didn't quite work with the employees. In some instances, the organization. There was instances where there was, how do you determine what this actually means? So there was ambiguity. And I think we've done a lot in terms of clarifying many clauses in both of the acts. And I think because of the collaborative effort between the employers, the employee confederations, which are our trade unions, and the government, we had a wide range, we have a good balance, and there's equity and inclusiveness that's achieved. It's important that we always look at the whole man and woman, and that starts at the family. So you will see the focus on family when we speak about maternity, paternity, and breastfeeding, and not only ensuring that the mother is able to spend time with the child in those formative weeks or years, but that the father is able to play a role and that a relationship of bond is started early. Where there is emotional or wellness or mental health wellness, we have to look at that, because sometimes illness doesn't mean physical illness. Sometimes it's your emotional or mental well-being that affects your productivity on the job. Productivity is another focus for labor in the Bahamas, and we believe that this labor legislative reform, the introduction of our National Productivity Task Force, will all work in tandem to ensure that our labor force is productive and balanced, but also able to thrive as we move and we transition into a new way of working. We have, in terms of international labor law, talk about just transition, the triple transition, how work will change because of blue and green, the environment, how work will change because of technology, and how work will change because of social justice, how we take care of our employees. These amendments all encompass the triple transition.
More of Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. Marking a step towards enhancing the Defense Force's operational readiness and storage capacity, the Ministry of National Security held a contract signing ceremony for the new Royal Bahamas Defense Force storage facility. The signing took place at the Ministry of National Security on September 24th, 2025.
The supply storage building is one of 7 facilities originally designed under the Sandy Bottom project, a project initiated under a previous PLP administration, an initiative that represented a $232 million investment by the government of the Bahamas. This investment included the acquisition of 9 vessels, which were made up of 8 patrol craft and 1 auxiliary roll-on, roll-off vessel, along with the refit of the Bahama-class vessels, namely the HMBS Bahamas and the HMBS Nassau. Also involved the dredging of the harbors of Matthew Town, Grady Nagua, Gunpoint, Ragged Island, and HMBS Coral Harbour, and the construction of quay walls to provide secure berthing for those vessels. The 7 buildings were designed by the local architectural firm Diamond Consulting Group. Of these, 3 are designated for HMBS Coral Harbour. To date, the Davy Franklin Road Operation Command Center has been completed and is fully operational. Today marks the next significant milestone as we officially signed a contract for the construction of a 15,000 square foot supply storage building. The supply storage building represents the first phase in the long-term redevelopment of HMBS Coral Harbour Base. Upon completion of this structure, all storage spaces currently housed in the unfinished hotel will be relocated to the purpose-built facility. This phase of development also includes the acquisition of a marine travel lift, which will provide the capacity to dry dock the Royal Bahamas Defense Force vessels, greatly enhancing the operational readiness and sustainability of the fleet. The second phase of development at Coral Harbour will focus on replacing the remaining functions in the unfinished hotel. This includes the construction of modern facilities to house the galley and dining areas, the senior and junior rate mats, and the exchange, the gym, and the band room. Conceptual designs for these facilities have already been completed. Following the relocation of these essential spaces, the unfinished hotel will be safely imploded, creating room for much-needed additional office spaces and parking facilities. In parallel with the on-base improvements, plans are also well advanced for the construction of a new barracks facility off-base to accommodate both officers and enlisted personnel. Furthermore, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force is actively seeking suitable locations to support recruit training, ensuring that future generations of Marines are prepared in the best possible environment. The construction of the supply storage building is therefore not just a single project. It is the continuation of a comprehensive, carefully phrased plan to modernize, expand, and strengthen the Royal Bahamas Defense Force's the primary base of operation. With an investment of over $3,173,000, this facility represents progress, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to the future. And as we are in a season, it would behoove me not to point out that again, a PLP administration is the only administration that is advancing the development of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. As you would have heard, these buildings were designed in the Sandy Bottom project, and yet we spanned administrations before we again take up the mantle to not only construct these buildings, but to commit to the construction of a new flagship class vessels and to acquire 4 new fast pursuit interceptor vessels for the Royal Bahamas Defense Force.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources held a press conference on September 22, 2025, to announce the success of Operation Red Dawn 2, a major anti-poaching operation aimed at strengthening marine protection efforts and safeguarding Bahamian fisheries from illegal activity.
The Bahamas fisheries sector is a cornerstone of our economy, generating hundreds of millions of dollars each year, supporting thousands of jobs and providing a vital source of food security. For these reasons, we cannot and will not allow illegal actors to exploit our waters without consequence. The Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Department of Marine Resources, the Bahamas Customs, the Port Department, and the Office of the Attorney General worked together with the support of the Nature Conservancy and Wild Aid through the Marine Action Partnership, otherwise known as MAP, to successfully carry out this undercover investigation and interdiction of a foreign vessel allegedly engaged in illegal chartered fishing. Now, this was not just a routine patrol. It was a carefully planned covert operation designed to identify, monitor, and interdict individuals operating outside of Bahamian law. The evidence gathered indicates that the targeted vessel was operating in breach of the Fisheries Act, the Boat Registration Act, and other related laws. At the conclusion of this operation, the vessel and associated equipment were seized, and 3 arrests have been made. The matter has since been referred to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for further legal proceedings, and additional details would be released at the appropriate time. It is worth recalling that Operation Red Dawn 1, conducted earlier this year, also produced significant results. That investigation led to the conviction of 3 foreign nationals and almost totaled approximately $200,000 in paid fines and penalties, and also resulted in those convicted individuals being banned from this country for 3 years. These outcomes show that our enforcement actions are not symbolic. They are leading to convictions, fines, bans, and real accountability in the courts. The success of Operation Red Dawn 2 highlights what can be achieved when Bahamian agencies stand together with professionalism and determination. The coordination of these agencies, combined with the operational support provided through the Marine Action Partnership, demonstrates the strength of partnership in protecting Bahamian sovereignty and Bahamian resources.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources, in conjunction with the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, officially launched the Agriculture and Marine Cadet Program on October 6, 2025. The program is aimed at encouraging young Bahamians to fully engage in the agriculture and marine sector while promoting food security and sustainable development.
This is a great day because today we are raising up one of the most important industries in human enterprise, but one that continues to be, even in our country, understated as some secondary something or some lesser something, but it's not. Because the one thing that secures national security is food, how we feed ourselves, and it ensures that our people have a quality of life where we are not dependent. You notice to be dependent on someone, dependent for their good graces to look out for you. It's when you look out for yourself, when you build the country with your own hands. This is what today is about. And the marine aspect of it, when I was Minister of Transport, we developed a maritime policy because we are surrounded by 100,000 square miles of sea. We're one of the biggest countries in the region, if not the biggest, when you consider our sea territory, which belongs to us. It is a rich space, and the maritime policy sought to understand what the sea means. It's not just shipping and cruising, and not even just fishing. It's minerals, it's energy. There's so many aspects to the sea. So it is important that we, as a Bahamian people, which we are, who live in this space, which we do, which is a maritime country and ocean state, we have the tongue of the ocean in our jurisdiction, that we should move beyond the confines of how we or others see us and begin to understand that the way in which we make sense of our lives and make sense of our country is sometimes off script.
This program is made possible through the partnership of three crucial bodies: the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute, the Department of Agriculture under the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources, and the Ministry of Education. Together, we are planting seeds that will grow into a stronger, more self-sufficient, and sustainable Bahamas. The program, as said earlier, will first be rolled out in 4 schools: Government High School, R.M. Bailey, C.I. Gibson, and C.V. Bethel High. These schools will become the first training grounds for a new generation of Bahamians. Young men and women who see agriculture and marine resources not as old-fashioned pursuits, but as vital, modern, and dynamic fields of opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bahamas imports over 90% of what we eat. As the Minister of Education said, this dependence is not sustainable. If storms disrupt supply chains, if prices rise globally, we feel it here at home. That is why food security is one of the most urgent challenges of our time. Agriculture and marine resources are not optional extras. They are essential to our survival and prosperity. But to change our course, we must do more than grow crops and catch fish. We must cultivate knowledge, skills, and passion in you, our young people. And that is exactly what this program seeks to do. Through this cadet program, students will gain hands-on skills, structured training, and mentorship. In agriculture, cadets will learn about modern farming, greenhouse technology, crop management, and agribusiness. In marine resources, they will be introduced to aquaculture, sustainable fishing, marine conservation, and also maritime safety. The students will participate in field trips, training sessions at BAMSI, and projects that connect classroom lessons to real-world practices.
I'm Carissa Williamson, and this has been Your Government in Action, a proud presentation of Bahamas Information Services. Join us on Tuesday evenings, where we bring you highlights, coverage, and information as we continue to do what we do best, linking people and government.